When people think of failure, they often picture a dramatic moment, losing a job, going bankrupt, or experiencing some kind of sudden major downfall. But failure rarely happens that way. It doesn't usually come as a single event that catches us off guard. Instead, it's the result of small, seemingly insignificant choices we make every single day. These choices may not look like much on their own, but compounded over time, they create the circumstances that lead to failure. Consider this: if a person smokes one cigarette, they don't immediately fall sick. If they eat a single fast food meal, they don't gain weight overnight. If they skip the gym once, they don't suddenly become unfit. But if they repeat these actions day after day, week after week, year after year, the results start to show. Their health declines, their energy fades, and eventually they find themselves dealing with consequences that seem to have appeared out of nowhere. But did they really come out of nowhere? Of course not. The truth is, these problems were quietly building up over time. The same principle applies to every area of life: our finances, our relationships, our careers, and our personal growth. The habits and decisions we make daily determine our future, whether we recognize it or not. Let's take finances as an example. Imagine someone who spends just a little more than they earn each month. Maybe it's a small amount, $50 or $100. It doesn't seem like a big deal. After all, what's $100 in the grand scheme of things? They tell themselves, "I'll make up for it later," or "It's just this one time." But next month, the same thing happens again and again. Before long, that small overspending becomes credit card debt. The debt accumulates, interest builds up, and suddenly they find themselves drowning in financial stress. The same thing happens with relationships. No marriage falls apart overnight. It happens gradually. Small moments of neglect, little arguments left unresolved, the slow erosion of appreciation and communication. A person stops saying thank you as often. They get caught up in their own routines. They start taking their partner for granted. Nothing seems wrong at first, but over time, distance grows. By the time they realize something is seriously wrong, the damage has been done, and they look back, wondering how they got to this point. Careers follow the same pattern. Nobody wakes up one day and finds themselves stuck in an unfulfilling job. It happens because they made small compromises along the way. They skipped learning new skills. They settled for comfort instead of growth. They avoided opportunities that could have challenged them. At first, these decisions didn't seem to matter. But after years of the same routine, they find themselves feeling trapped, wondering why they never moved forward. The reason failure sneaks up on people is that the effects of their daily choices are invisible until they aren't. If eating one unhealthy meal instantly made us sick, or if skipping one day at the gym caused immediate weight gain, we'd take these small decisions more seriously. But because the consequences take time to show, we underestimate their impact. Here's the real danger. The same way small errors in judgment can lead to failure, small positive choices can lead to success. The problem is, both success and failure feel the same in the moment. Think about it. If you read 10 pages of a book today, it doesn't feel like a life-changing event. You don't suddenly become wise or successful. But if you read 10 pages a day, every day for a year, that's 3,650 pages. Roughly 12, 15 books. That kind of knowledge compounds. That's how people become experts. But because reading 10 pages today doesn't seem to make an immediate difference, most people don't do it. The same goes for finances. If you save $5 today, nothing really changes. You don't suddenly become wealthy. But if you save $5 every day for 30 years, with interest, you could have tens of thousands of dollars. The problem? Most people don't see the results quickly, so they don't bother. This is why success and failure both operate under the principle of daily decisions. It's just that one set of choices leads to progress, while the other leads to regret. Most people don't fail because of one big mistake. They fail because they underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. What makes this even trickier is that these small errors in judgment often come disguised as no big deal. Eating that extra dessert, skipping that workout, spending just a little extra, ignoring that difficult conversation. None of these things seem urgent, but they add up. And the worst part? The real damage isn't visible until it's too late to easily correct. By the time someone realizes they're financially unstable, they're deep in debt. By the time someone realizes their health is failing, they're dealing with chronic issues. By the time someone realizes their relationship is in trouble, years of emotional distance have already built up. The good news? Just as bad habits compound, good habits do too. The same way small daily failures lead to disaster, small daily disciplines lead to success. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail isn't a matter of luck. It's a matter of what they do daily, even when it doesn't seem to matter. Most people think the opposite of success is failure, that if they don't win, they lose, that if they don't make it, they must have fallen short. But that's not how it works. The real enemy of success isn't failure, it's comfort. Failure, at the very least, teaches you something. It wakes you up. It forces you to grow. When you fail, you're faced with two choices: give up or get better. It creates a sense of urgency. You start asking yourself, what went wrong? How do I fix this? What do I need to learn? Failure is painful, but it's also a teacher. Some of the most successful people in history have failed more times than the average person has even tried. They failed forward. They learned from their mistakes. They used failure as fuel. But comfort? Comfort is deceptive. Comfort whispers, you're doing fine. No need to change. No need to push yourself. Comfort doesn't make you better. It keeps you exactly where you are. And here's the problem. If you're not growing, you're falling behind. Look around at people who feel stuck in life. They aren't necessarily failing in the traditional sense. They have jobs. They have a place to live. They have food on the table. They're not at rock bottom. But they're not rising either. They're stagnant. They wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, and repeat the cycle year after year. There's nothing wrong with having stability, but when stability turns into stagnation, that's when comfort becomes a trap. Comfort zones are where dreams go to die. Why? Because success requires effort, discomfort, and growth. And growth is never comfortable. Think about it. Every major transformation in life is painful at first. Learning a new skill, frustrating. Starting a business, risky. Getting in shape, exhausting. But it's only through discomfort that we grow. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They don't want to put in extra hours. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to step into the unknown. So they stay where it's familiar, where it's safe, where they feel like they're doing okay, even when deep down they know they're capable of more. Here's what makes comfort so dangerous. It doesn't seem like a problem at first. Unlike failure, which is obvious, comfort sneaks up on you. It feels good, it feels safe, but while you're comfortable, time is passing. Opportunities are slipping away. Other people who are willing to be uncomfortable, are moving ahead. Think of an athlete who stops training after winning a championship. They celebrate, they relax, they enjoy their success. But if they stay comfortable for too long, what happens? They lose their edge. Their competition surpasses them. The very thing that made them great, their hunger, is gone. This happens in every field. Businesses that get comfortable with success stop innovating. Professionals who stop learning become irrelevant. Comfort is the silent killer of progress. Success is never a permanent state. You don't arrive and stay there forever. The moment you stop pushing forward, you start sliding backward. Comfort creates a false sense of security. It makes you think you've made it, when in reality, you're just standing still while the world moves forward. The real challenge isn't failure, it's resisting the pull of comfort. Most people don't reach their full potential, not because they weren't capable, but because they weren't willing to be uncomfortable. Comfort is the enemy of urgency. Comfort keeps people in jobs they hate, in relationships that don't fulfill them, in lives they never truly wanted. And here's what's worse. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to break free. It's like quicksand. The more you settle, the more you sink, the harder it feels to change. And eventually, you wake up one day and wonder, how did I get here? Look at people who achieve extraordinary success. They have one thing in common. They are willing to be uncomfortable. They are willing to wake up early, put in the extra work, take risks, fail, and try again. They don't choose the easy path. They choose the one that leads to growth. The problem is most people wait for motivation. They wait until they feel ready to take action. But comfort never gives you a reason to change. You have to make the decision before you feel ready. Because if you wait until it's convenient, you'll be waiting forever. Life has a way of moving forward whether we're ready for it or not. Every day, time passes, choices are made, and paths are taken. The question is, who is making those choices for you? Are you directing your life, or are you simply going with the flow? Because here's a hard truth. If you don't have a plan for your life, you'll end up in someone else's plan. And guess what? Their plan isn't designed for your success. It's designed for their benefit. Look around. The world is full of people who are stuck in lives they never consciously chose. They work jobs they don't like, settle for relationships that don't fulfill them, and accept circumstances they wish were different. Not because they wanted these things, but because they never decided what they actually wanted in the first place. And when you don't decide, someone else decides for you. Companies have a plan for you to be a lifelong customer. Employers have a plan for you to work for them instead of yourself. Society has a plan for you to follow the standard path, go to school, get a job, pay bills, retire, and hope for the best. If you don't take control, you'll simply be swept into the current of what other people want. Think about it. How many people stay in jobs they hate, not because they have to, but because they never made a plan for anything better? How many people live paycheck to paycheck, not because they're incapable of wealth, but because they never created a financial strategy? How many people wake up every morning and simply react to whatever comes their way, instead of moving toward a goal? Life is happening to them, instead of them happening to life. The problem isn't that these people aren't smart or capable. The problem is they never sat down and designed their future. They never asked themselves the big questions. What do I really want? What do I want to be in 5 years? How do I want to spend my time? What kind of impact do I want to make? Most people don't think about these things until it's too late. They wake up at 40 or 50 and realize they've spent decades working towards someone else's dream instead of their own. They realize they've built a life out of convenience rather than intention. And that's when regret sets in. Because the truth is, life is always being shaped by a plan. Either it's your plan or it's someone else's. Now, let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with working for someone else. There's nothing wrong with contributing to a company, a mission, or a cause. But the difference is intention. Did you choose to be there, or did you just end up there because you didn't have a better plan? This is why some people love their work while others dread it. The ones who love it are there because they chose it. They aligned their job with their purpose, their skills, and their long-term vision. The ones who hate it, most of them just took the first opportunity that came along and never looked beyond it. This pattern repeats in every area of life: finances, relationships, health, personal growth. Without a plan, you drift. And drifting leads nowhere. Now, some people will say, but I don't know what I want. The worst mistake is to sit back and wait, hoping that something will, some way, stay safe. The worst mistake is to sit back and wait, hoping that life will somehow hand you a perfect path. It won't. The world rewards clarity and action. Those who know where they're going attract opportunities. They make better decisions. They avoid distractions. They don't get caught up in things that don't serve their purpose. But those who have no plan, they get pulled in 100 different directions. They say yes to things they don't want to do. They waste years chasing things that don't truly matter to them. And one day they wake up wondering why they feel lost. The biggest difference between successful and unsuccessful people isn't talent, luck, or intelligence. It's direction. Successful people decide what they want and move toward it. Unsuccessful people let life happen to them and hope it all works out. Hope is not a strategy. Wishing for a better life is not the same as planning for one. Success, whether in business, relationships, health, or personal fulfillment, requires intention. It requires designing your life before the world does it for you. If you look at the principles of success, you'll realize something interesting. Success is not complicated. It's not a mystery. The steps to getting fit, building wealth, mastering a skill, or achieving any goal are well known. If you want to get in shape, you eat healthy and exercise. If you want to build wealth, you spend less than you earn and invest wisely. If you want to master a craft, you practice consistently over time. It's simple, but it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because of one thing: discipline. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's what determines whether someone follows through or gives up. Because knowing what to do isn't enough. You have to do it. And you have to do it consistently, even when you don't feel like it. That's where most people struggle. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they can't get themselves to do it consistently over time. They start strong, but then life gets in the way. They feel tired, they get distracted, they tell themselves, "I'll do it tomorrow." And little by little, they fall back into old patterns. That's why discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, you're stuck. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Think about it. Every successful person in any field got there through discipline. Athletes train even when they're sore. Writers write even when they're uninspired. Entrepreneurs keep building even after failures. The best in the world aren't the best because they feel motivated every day. They're the best because they show up regardless of how they feel. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. One day you're excited, the next day you're not. If you rely on motivation, you'll only take action when you feel like it, which means you'll be inconsistent. And inconsistency is the enemy of progress. Discipline, on the other hand, is what keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it. It's what gets you out of bed early, what makes you push through discomfort, what keeps you on track when distractions come. The problem is, most people associate discipline with suffering. They see it as something restrictive, something that takes the fun out of life. But the truth is, discipline is freedom. It gives you control over your life. It allows you to create the future you want instead of being at the mercy of your impulses. Without discipline, you're a slave to your moods, your cravings, your distractions. You do what's easy instead of what's right. And what's easy today usually leads to problems tomorrow. Skipping workouts is easy, but it leads to poor health. Overspending is easy, but it leads to financial stress. The difficult choice today becomes the easy life later. The easy choice today becomes the difficult life later. That's why discipline is everything. It's what makes success possible. And the good news? Discipline is a skill. It's not something you're born with or without. It's something you build, just like a muscle. The more you practice discipline, the stronger it gets. The first time you resist temptation, it's hard. The second time, it's still hard. But over time, it becomes second nature. You start to trust yourself. You start to become the kind of person who follows through. And once that happens, everything changes. Because success isn't about huge breakthroughs. It's about small, consistent actions repeated over time. It's about doing the right things day after day, even when no one's watching. That's why people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They're simply the ones who kept going when others quit. They stayed disciplined when others got comfortable. They took action when others made excuses. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up even when it's hard. Because the truth is, success is simple, but without discipline, it will always be out of reach.